Hi, my name is Tara Cloud Clark. I do marketing for Outland Entertainment, and today we are at Planet Comicon in Kansas City, 2021, August 20th through 22nd, and we are doing demos and interviews and that sort of thing. And one of our first ones is with two of our beloved authors who are also developing a game. So their names are Carlos Hernandez and C.S.E. Cooney. Or Claire. We also call her Claire.
Hello!
They are authors for our anthology of fairy tale stories, Where the Veil is Thin. And then they are also developing this amazing game. I'll put it closer to there. Negocios Infernales. It is a role-playing, storytelling, cooperative storytelling game. It doesn't have all of the stats and dice that you have in other role-playing games. So if you know people who are more interested in storytelling, that sort of thing, it's a great thing to do. So they're going to demonstrate the game, kind of do a little bit of playing, and just take it away, guys.
Thank you so much for having us.
Okay.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to this demonstration of character creation for Negocios Infernales. And so the basic premise of the game goes something like this. In a world very much like ours, called Gloriana, they're about to go through something like the Spanish Inquisition, which was terrible. Unlike our world, however, they're lucky. They have peaceful, peace-loving aliens who have been observing them, and the aliens are like, you know what? Instead of letting them engage in the fanaticism and the bigotry of a Spanish Inquisition, we're going to intercede. So the aliens come down, and they try to help the Espadans move on from their fanatical ways to a better world. It's going to take some doing, however. And today what we're going to do is we're going to demonstrate basically how the cards work and how character creation works. So, the basic mechanic of Negocios Infernales is based on this. And so, we have a deck of 70 cards. Every card has a suit. There are 7 suits total. There's a little ad or saying on it, and there is imagery on it. And your job, like a fortune teller, is to interpret these cards. So, for instance, if you drew this card, which says, piety is surrender, you might be prompted in one direction in the narrative of the story. If you got this card, however, with its little skeletal border, which says, will you die at once or by degrees? You might prompt your story in a very different kind of way. So, when you interpret the card, you can basically take any little part of it or the whole gestalt, the whole big picture of it, and just let the story go however you want to. And that we use in 7 different mini-games throughout Negocios Infernales in order to tell a full story, from character creation to world building to creating your problem to then trying to solve it in the actual roleplay that you do in Act 2 of the session. With me today is Claire Cooney. Hello, Claire.
Hello, everyone.
Claire is my genius wife and also the co-designer of Negocios Infernales. So we're going to go through the character creation process together. So, shall we draw some cards?
Sure. Do we want to explain who the wizards are?
Do that.
Okay. So you're playing in this game, you're all wizards in the court of Reina Resoluta, who is the queen of Espada de la Diosa.
That lady right there.
And when the aliens came, they came to the queen because she was obviously the leader of the planet. And they said, we would love to help you, go beyond this whole religious persecution thing. And they tried to explain who they are and what the cosmic consciousness is. And there was a little trouble in translation. And Reina's like, are you devils? And
they have like little dealy boppers here. She was like, are those horns? Are you devils?
Are you devils? And will you give us phenomenal powers in exchange for our immortal souls? And the aliens are like, we're willing to work within your metaphor. Sure, that's what we'll do. Let's just say that. So everybody in the game who's a wizard believes that they've sold their soul to devils in exchange for powers, when really they're just a little step closer to joining the cosmic consciousness.
In the next evolution of humanity. Perfect.
Yes.
Great. So what we're going to do is demonstrate character creation. So what you do in this game is you take some cards and you just draw them. You draw the number of players plus 1 to give people a choice. And so draw 3 cards, Sterling.
You always choose your own destiny. 2, 3.
Okay, great.
Or just, okay, here we go.
Right.
So we've got 2 of the Sangre suite. Sangre is the red suite. Sangre is the blood of life.
So this card says, even dragons are murdered for their gold. This card says, how many have died by friendly knives? How many have died by friendly knives?
Now we have a Rayo suite, which is the spark of life.
Yeah, and this is that the cry of a dying star? So what we're going to do is we're each going to select one of these cards, and we're going to use that for our character's motivation. And so on your character sheet, there are 4 attributes. The first one is motivation. And this is very much like when an actor asks the director, what's my motivation? How am I supposed to act this character out? That's what this is for. So we're each going to determine what our character's motivation is based on the card that we choose. Do you want to choose first, or do you want me to go?
You go first.
Okay.
Because I selected.
I am going to choose how many have died by friendly knives.
I'm going to choose Rayo. Is that the cry of a dying star?
And what we're going to do is just sort of like narrate and say what our motivation is. Now, you can use any little part of the card, any slight detail, or you can use the whole card. So you can use the say, you can use the art, you can use the suit, the border around here, anything that you want to. As I'm thinking about this, one of the things that I'm especially drawn to is this black dog right here. And if you know, the myth of the black dog often appears right at the moment of someone's death. So I think I'm going to focus my description on that black dog. And so my character, the person that I'm envisioning now, believes death is always one step away, lives life, therefore, on the brink of absolute carpe diem.
Carpe diem, baby.
Yeah. So this is a carpe diem person who's just like, I literally think I'm gonna die tomorrow. I'm living today like I am going to die. Heavy on pleasure, heavy on being afraid of what's gonna happen next.
My character is very different. My character is that the cry of a dying star. So my character had a vision as a child. They saw a sort of a floating planet of star-like beauty, just like hovering above the ocean. And they have wanted to see that vision come to fruition in their lifetime. They are motivated to see this. They see omens and portents in every sparkly, shiny thing. They see faces in clouds. They're willing and ready to fulfill their vision. Maybe they would even go to great lengths to self-fulfill this prophecy they had as a child, or perhaps just a dream.
Oh, really interesting. So cool. So really sort of like dreamy and living for the dream in a lot of ways.
Living to look for visual metaphors in every, brick and puddle.
Right.
Basically.
I love it. These are cards that are going to stay with us because at the end of this process we'll have 4 cards, and those cards will dictate who our characters are. So this card that we had before that we didn't choose stays on the table, and we choose 2 more cards that we'll add for the next thing. So I'll choose those. You can choose anywhere at any point from any part of the deck. You never draw from the top unless you want to.
Sometimes it's easier to draw from the top. It just depends on what you like.
We have 2 more cards now. This card, I love this weird card. It says, the mouth has too many jobs. And then we have this card. Though people are suffering, should we not drink wine? So, 2 very different cards that we're adding to the pile. I have to pick one of these 3 for my role in court. So the way that this works is, you are a wizard of the court of Reina Resoluta. She needs you near in case there's an emergency that requires the wizards to take action. So, you have an alter ego. You're kind of like Clark Kent's secret identity that you do on a day-to-day basis until you are needed to be a wizard. And so this card is going to determine that. One important thing, I can't pick this card because I already have a Sangre card, and you can't have 2 cards of the same suit on your character sheet. So I'm going to have to choose from these 2.
I'll choose first this time since he chose first last time.
Right. And takes the dragons. I am going to take this funny person right here to be mine. As I'm looking at this card, I'm thinking, this is definitely like your lazy courtier who just, sits around being rich, gossiping about courtly politics, and, basically, almost like Bruce Wayne, right? It's sort of just like a rich playboy type character who doesn't have to do much and pretends to be someone who doesn't care about very much until they're called into action. So yeah, I think I'm going to be a wine-drinking playboy, just like in real life.
You talk a big game, Hernandez. I got even dragons are murdered for their gold, and so I've decided that I'm Her Majesty's Dragon Slayer, but Espada de la Diosa, there aren't any dragons. So she's really more of a con artist, and, she takes alligators and stuffs them and paints them and gilds them and, presents the dragons that she slayed at different points of time, tells the story of it. She doesn't necessarily love doing that. She'd much rather there be real dragons, but since there aren't, and this is what she does. Now, of course, since the aliens arrived, there may or may not be more cryptozoological mysteries in Espada than there were before.
Right?
She may actually have to be Her Majesty's Dragon Slayer at some point.
That is such a great story, Pups. Like, you've been faking it P.T. Barnum style all this time.
And now you're the resident expert.
And now they're like, okay, go do the thing you always do. And
oh, man.
I love it. Awesome. Okay, so we have one card left. Mouth has too many jobs. What we're going to do is add 2 more cards. Claire, draw these. Ooh, 2 Espacio cards.
We like the Espacio suite because all the other 6 suits, all the other 6 suits are like the stuff that makes a person, like a spark, a bone, air, like brine.
Tears,
yeah. Blood and flesh, but Espacio is all the space between and the space beyond and the kind of like what we move towards or outside of ourselves.
Right. If the other 6 suits are about the body, the 7th suit, Espacio, is about the ontological unknown. So we have 2 of those. I'll put them in the camera now. One of them says, "Nature was unprepared for your cruelty." And I think that's like a good thing to say about humanity in general. The other one, I really like this one because it can be said 2 different ways, and as we've play tested, people have said it differently. So it can either be, "And yet, however stumblingly, progress." Or you could say, "And yet, however stumblingly, progress." So you can make it a noun or a verb depending on how you use it, and people have done it differently. So now what we're doing is we're choosing our wizard's magic. To be a wizard, you actually need magic. This is the thing that you've bargained for. You think you've given up your immortal soul for this part of power, so it better be good. So the way that we talk about it with people, it's like it's an X-Man-like power. Anything from like the weaker sort of mutations that can happen all the way up to like Magneto-like levels of super duper power.
And another way we talk about it is like they could be like more like demigods than full-on gods.
Right.
Not so much omnipotent, but like a specific and yet very highly flexible power.
Yeah, and you want flexible because you don't even know what kind of dangers you're going to be encountering in your character. So I think it's my turn to go first.
Yeah, go for it.
I'm just really attracted, because I've never actually used this card before for Magic, to this weird card, "The Mouth Has Too Many Jobs." I'm going to come up with a magic power based on this.
I'm really attracted to "Nature is unprepared for your cruelty." I think it matches both my character's motivation and her role in court. So I have an idea. I can actually talk about it while Carlos writes. My idea for this is because she loves visions. She wants things to happen according to her own personal, internal, metaphors. She wants prophecies to come true. And she's also a fake con artist, dragon slayer for the queen. But if her magic is the ability to turn people into mythical animals, she can make her own kind of metaphors come true. If she says, "Oh, you're a beast at heart," she can kind of make you a beast in reality. And also if Her Majesty's like, "Bring me a real dragon already," she's like, "Okay," and she could do that if she wanted to. Also, if she's fighting off enemies or whatever her job is, it's kind of flexible enough it's the creation of mythical beasts through magic. But if it backfires, maybe part of her turns into a mythical beast, or maybe the mythical beast is like, instead of human size, 20 feet tall, or 50 feet tall. Like, there's a lot of good ways this can backfire, which is sort of important for your magic because it will backfire in this game.
Right. Okay, that's awesome. And also beautifully tied in and intricate with your character. So, I'm a person who is carpe diem, right? I'm a person who's like trying to take in as much life as possible. My card is the mouth has too many jobs. I'm interpreting as that my dude can swallow 10,000 pounds of matter a day. So I can take in up to 10,000 pounds of matter. If it backfires, I think things come out randomly that I've swallowed sometime in the past.
Vomitous?
Yeah, just like at some point things are going to come out that have been in there a while. I mean, who knows? Like maybe dragons or other things that I've swallowed on behalf of the queen.
Do they come out digested?
They come out perfectly whole.
Oh, that's funny.
So it's really just sort of like I'm a very fine jail. Like I'm like jail for matter, and if it's living, it just stays alive and hangs out for a while.
So your stomach is sort of like a pocket dimension.
Yes, exactly.
That's interesting.
Those D&Ders out there, kind of like a portable hole, but with oxygen. Also, important safety tip: portable holes don't bring their own oxygen with them, so try not to keep the living things in there too much. But so there's our magic.
All right.
We have one more to go. We've got a card on there. We'll pick two more. I'll pick them from two different spots here. All right, we've got one more espacio. A seed spends most of its life asleep. And then, look closer. The edges are ragged. So these are our three cards that we have to choose from. Claire, it's your turn to go first, and you can't choose the espacio one.
I know, I have to choose Hueso. Look closer, the edges are ragged. And this is my doom. Right. Have you explained doom?
I haven't explained it yet, so... This is very much modeled on 15th, 16th century Spain. Different world, but modeled on that. And so anybody who knows anything about like Catholic guilt knows that you're a sinner and you think yourself unworthy, so you know that you are doomed unless you are forgiven. In this world, you're not forgiven. In this world, you think you're totally screwed. And so when you made your deal with the wizards, you were also like, okay, so what's my punishment for doing this? And the aliens didn't really they would have given you the powers for free, but they're working in your metaphor. This is what you think should happen? Sure, we'll give you a doom.
Oh boy, will we.
So your doom, in gameplay terms, is something worse than death. It doesn't kill you. You might wish it did, but it does not kill you.
And it stays with you.
Yeah, it stays with you, and it's additive. So like in the campaign setting, you might have activated your doom multiple times and had multiple different bad things that you constantly have to live with. We have a whole list of like terrible dooms as example, but we'll give you an example here when we demonstrate here. It's like at that desperate moment when you just have to use every bit of your power in order to save the situation, you might activate your doom, and then it comes upon you. So I need to pick my doom yet, and I think
I'll pick that one. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to pick a seed spends most of its life asleep. So I chose look closer, the edges are ragged. My doom. Okay, so if I activate my doom, I who am a dreamer and like a prophet and want things to be beautiful and true, and I want things to mean something. I want visions in clouds, and I want to see like beautiful things. Instead, I see like the actual scientific reality, like perfectly practical, like nothing actually means anything else except what it is, and like life ceases to hold meaning. Aww. So like a kind of nihilistic certainty, I would say, is my doom. Wow, that's a harsh one. It's hard to survive.
Like I lose my sense of metaphor.
Yeah, which is what you've been living for all this time. That's harsh. So in mine says a seed spends most of its time asleep. It has all these embryos on it, like this is what it looks like. And those embryos are really drawing to me. And so what I'm thinking is that every day, a different part of my body becomes fetal. As if to say, like my hand might just suddenly shrink down and become a little tiny little fetal hand, and that's what I'm carrying around. Or one day it might be my head that just goes fetal all the way.
You lose all your hair, you get peach fuzz.
Exactly, yeah. Or, it might be my left leg that suddenly becomes a little fetal leg. And every day it's a different appendage.
Or your lungs.
Oh my God, that would probably kill me. So maybe that will be my final doom, like when my legs or my heart just shrinks down to a tiny, tiny little fetal heart. I love it. So every day.
And so as you see, we each have 4 different suits on our character sheet. When you have a 3 to 5 player game, there's a fairly good chance that all the 7 suits are going to be represented, but there's no certainty in that. And as you play the game and you're drawing cards to see if you succeed in what you're trying to do, if you draw a card that matches something that's on your character sheet, that means a success. But if you draw a card that doesn't match something on your character sheet, the narrative does not go your way badly, and wonderful things happen in a hilarious and macabre fashion.
Right. Wonderful, terrible things happen.
Yes.
So it's like, basically you're racing against the clock to get more successes than failure before you run out of chances. And these are our characters. All we'd have to do now is give them a name, and we'd be able to move on to the other 6 mini games that are in the game. So besides character creation, you create relationships with other wizards to find out how you know them in advance.
So how do I know you?
Oh, so here we go.
Drink a little poison every day.
Yeah, I think you are a little bit dangerous for the court, but I also, I feel like that suspicious look on that face is like what I'm imagining right now, and I'm thinking I look at you askance and I'm wondering what kind of tricks you're up to.
All right, and then what do I think about you? I think that you're a little carpe diem. I like that about you, but I think that you... you're embracing the world as it is and sort of throwing yourself headfirst into the reality of death, and I think that you need to pause and search for more meaning in your life.
Yeah, I'm too busy eating 10,000 pounds of matter a day.
Maybe I'm a little bit of that annoying proselytizer at you. Maybe I scold you a little, and maybe you just are you don't even know.
Yeah.
So we kind of write that at the bottom, and and throughout the game, remember this relationship. The relationship can evolve as well.
Right, and then we write our names, of course, too. So we have the relationships that we create, and then we build out our world a little bit. We have a separate deck for world building that asks you questions about who are the popular artists of the day, or what is the economic situation going on in your country, or who is your queen thinking about waging war against, and we have 40 of those. So each game focuses a little bit different on the different.
You don't answer all those questions at once. Everybody, you only answer the number of players. So
right.
You only answer 3 questions about your world, but you write them down, and then this world becomes different from anybody else's world who's playing.
Right. Then you create your threat. And basically what you do is you pick which adventure you're going to do, and you answer questions about it in an oracular kind of fortune-telling kind of way. So different questions come up that your queen is asking you about this threat that is emerging, and from there, then what you do is you answer them using the cards once more.
For the first game, there's 7 different threats that you're facing, and they're slightly different genres. So there's a mystery, there's a gothic, there is a kaiju big monster adventure game, there's a war, there's a rom-com royal wedding. Help me out here.
No, I think you've covered plenty. And
there's more than that. Yeah,
we're going to be covering more. So after you have got that, after you have got your threat, then it's time to role play. So all of that stuff in the beginning, that's sort of like the day 0, act 1 of the game. And then act 2 is actually role-playing that out. And then what you do is each of the players take turns being the protagonist. You'll play different NPCs and throw complications at each other while you're doing that, all in the service of trying to actually get the threat solved that you created in the previous section.
And every failure moves your queen closer to destruction. There's a board that's a sword, and she's going toward the hilt of the sword. But every success removes some of the threat, basically. And once you've removed all the threat without getting your queen hilt deep in trouble, then you win. But every time you fail, she goes further down the hilt. So what do you do to stop that? You activate your doom, and it sort of halts her progress. So there's some chances that you can save her before she gets buried up to the hilt.
Right. And so whether you win or lose, the last act is one of my favorite parts. It's called the Alien Epilogue, and then we take the camera off of the players and off of the wizards you've been playing, and we take you to the mothership of the aliens who've been observing all of this action. And the aliens, they're kind of judgy. They're just sort of like, should we let the humans join the cosmic consciousness? And you review the gameplay by acting out as aliens, going over what the different wizards did and how well they accomplished their task.
Yeah, and then that's the game. It sort of wraps it up on a kind of a comic note, really.
Right, yeah. I mean, it definitely is meant to be hilarious whether you win or lose, and we wanted to make failure as much fun or even more fun than, actually succeeding and saving the day, kind of a very different sort of like approach to some role-playing games. So that's the game. That's Negocios Infernales in a nutshell. We hope that you're interested in it. You can find out about it by going to the Kickstarter page or by investigating the Outland Entertainment page.
So thank you guys. Thank you so much for coming from New York to Missouri to see us, Kansas City, which is one of the better parts, of course, to go to Planet Comicon with us.
It's awesome.
Yeah, we love it here.
And your game is awesome. I'm really excited to be able to work with you guys and play this game. I got to play it twice, and we're over here, and I love it. This is a phenomenal game. I've got to play with strangers and with people that I know really well, and both ways it was really great. So highly, highly recommend it. It's beautiful and fun. Don't forget, they also are some of our featured authors in our anthology of fairy stories, Where the Veil is Thin. That is available digital and also hard copy on our website.
Carlos wrote a choose your own path story. It's a gamified story.
Yeah, so it's really fun there. And Claire wrote a heartbreaker of a story in there. Everybody was just like, oh, my heart. It's
I
so
didn't
great.
mean to. It's just that Fairyland and the Deadlands are sort of the same thing if you think about it.
Kind of, yeah.
So thank you guys again for coming and for demoing this. Everybody follow all of us on social media. We've got Outland Entertainment. Carlos is Write, Teach, Play everywhere,
That's
right? And Claire is C.S.E. Cooney. So that's about it.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you
having
guys.
us. Yay.
Thank you.